Okay, welcome to the Survivor Michigan episode 8 after show. We're gonna have five. I think there'll be five of us total. So we're waiting on one more person right now. But I'll have the guys who are here introduce themselves and just say like who they are and what their affiliation is with College Survivor, and then we'll start talking about the uh, the merge episode, a wild one for sure. Okay, so Ronan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. My name is Ronan. I'm the host and editor of Survivor San Diego. We only got one season up right now. We got two in the Google Drive. We'll get there eventually, but big fan of Survivor Michigan. Definitely the one that started it all for me. So it's really cool that I'm actually talking to Ian for the first time. That's good.
I'm Jeremy. I'm from Survivor MSU. I'm a sophomore there. We just finished our first season. I played on season 1, so we're filming season 2 right now. Obviously, you guys saw the edit at the end. So, I'll talk about this briefly just so we can get out of the way. I appreciate the edit from Ian to put in that they're thinking about us, Spartan Strong. Obviously, everyone knows about the shooting. So I think that to have people that are we know that are thinking about us and sending prayers and thoughts, I appreciated you putting that in. I just hope you guys either think about us or pray or just put us in good thoughts with people still in the hospital recovering and everybody on the students. But yeah, I'm Survivor MSU, and Michael is also Survivor MSU, so we can touch on that too if he wants to.
Hello, my name is Michael. I am the president and founder of Survivor Michigan State. As Jeremy said, we are very sad about the events that happened at Michigan State on Monday, and we are looking to, think about the people who lost their lives and how we're able to move forward from that.
We just wanted to, all of us are thinking about you guys right now, and pretty much everybody I know who went to Michigan or goes to Michigan, knows people at Michigan State, has friends there, family. And so it's an emotional thing for everybody, I think, in the state of Michigan and just throughout. And so, yeah, prayers for you guys and the victims. And we need this shit's got to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, this country is starting to. But my name is Johnny. If you watched the mid-season podcast last week for the 2.5 and 4.5, I hosted them with Nick. So Nick's my org friend. I've known him forever. He introduced me to all these guys. I'm sitting in Cooper's room at the moment. But I'm very excited to watch and talk about this. That episode was absolutely nuts. And obviously sad to talk about my boy Nick going home.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess let's start with that. Nick, the choke of the century, he knew it too, and he just I'll let Nick explain it on his keep your torch lit and stuff, but he'll go through his whole rationale. But that day, and all over his production chat, everybody who from production who talked to him, he was like, if I get this thing, I'm playing it. 100% chance I'm playing it. He was so sussed out. He totally read the situation completely right, and just in the moment, he just didn't do it.
And his biggest strength is his gut. And the one time I feel like he didn't trust his gut is the one time it bit him. That was so painful to watch.
As soon as you brought up the Crouch clip again, I was like, oh no. I was like, it's not good to see twice. that sucked. Honestly, Nick shouldn't even be on the season, dude. He should have won his first time around, and just the fact that he went out like that, it was brutal. Because I was just coming around back to Nick again. I feel like we've touched a lot of on the other players this season, but when I saw this huge surge of Nick gameplay, I was like, this is it. He's doing it. He's flipping the game. We're finally getting Sam out, and then I don't know, man. That was brutal to watch.
Yeah, I love Nick. So I had the same thing right when I saw that clip again of Crouch saying that. I was like, oh, he's not going to play. And I think it was just partly due to because Adam and Bailey and everyone's sort of selling it. They're mad at each other. So obviously he's trying to think in the moment what to do. Should I play it? Always if you don't have to play it, always good to keep it. So I think those people just fake arguing with each other at Tribal was a thing. I was okay, I can keep this for one more week and save myself next week. I think that sort of did in for him, unfortunately.
And honestly, I was watching that whole Tribal Council and I was like, who is all this acting good for? What is the you're leaving a bunch of people out of the vote here. And then I guess Nick obviously will explain it, but I guess it misted him a little bit because he didn't play it. I don't know if the Tribal Council semantics is what led to that, but yeah.
Definitely gotta check out the podcast. Keep your torch lit, because I need to know what was going on. I feel like as soon as he saw his first name, I mean, he probably
He knew. He was holding on to the. He was ready to walk.
He knew.
He knew it was him.
He knew. Yeah, I think he knew. Even like the way the votes are being read, like that there weren't Kevin votes coming out. Like he knew. It was so painful for me personally. Nick was like, I always felt so bad for him in season 2. Like, I just thought he had played such a great game. It didn't get a ton of respect. And like, I love Mallory as a winner, but I did think that Nick was like under respected by the jury, and just I thought that he would have been such a good winner for All-Stars. And he was one of the people who I just going into it, I was like, if Nick won, that would be like the greatest story ever. And I was just devastated. I was just standing there like, dude, what are you doing? I thought he was gonna play in real life. I was like, wait, he didn't play it? What's happening here? And I remember standing around with him afterwards and him just talking to me. I was just like, bro, what happened, dude? He just throws it. He has
such a sharp mind for the game. Like, he obviously had like 800 thoughts a minute, probably thinking about it too. And there's so many factors that came into him getting voted out. Like, I feel like it took such an unfortunate series of events for the target to eventually land on him too, that it was just like, how would he even known to play it except for that little gut feeling that he had? Like, that's all he had was a gut feeling. Never heard his name. He never got told that anyone was flipping on him. A lot of people had the information here that he did not have. And then it's like, it's almost like, how could you expect him to play it?
I agree with Ian. I was very sad that Nick, didn't win season 2. And so I was rooting for him, coming into this season. And I feel like he should have like had an oath to, himself that like, if he's going to say it, then, he might as well just play it, because while there is value, to having a public idol, like it also really damages your game as well, because you have to play in a completely different way than you would play, without people knowing you have the idol, or without having an idol in general.
Can I ask a question, Ian, about were you at the voting stand when they were casting?
Yeah, I was there.
So what was that? Was Adam like, dude, give me the idol? You guys were like, no.
Yeah,
like,
Adam was like, so there was a lot of
for a sec. So I was
so
like,
there was a lot of debate actually on production before it happened. Like, first of all, there was like Nick said in his producer chat like what he was going to do, and there was people that were like, is that because Adam was saying that shouldn't count because he didn't say like Apollo. He said like Adam was trying to say it shouldn't count basically, and I think we had told Nick that would count. Like, it would be unfair to like not let it count. I felt like, and like Adam and Nick had equal opportunity. Adam could have also shouted it out,
I feel like if they could Sharpie out the idol clue, then he could say Apollo.
Yeah, that I'll take full responsibility for everything to do with like the idol clues in this episode. I was given almost no power in production because I was like just didn't know anything about Survivor and no one really took me seriously at the time. But they let me do the merge idols. That was one thing I was in charge of, because I had wanted to put an idol in the library like forever and ever. I had wanted to do like that, and so I was in charge of that. And so they just I had sole discretion over how that was going to work. And so Bailey and them started complaining that like it was unfair that like the clue was too easy to find basically. So Emily B getting it a day ahead of time wasn't going to do anything because eventually everybody would have it. So then everybody would just be trying to say Apollo. And then they were like, we're going to black it out. And I was like, that's on me. Like, I should have said you can't like alter the clue or something. Like, that's a loophole they found, like props to them, but then all the other people started fighting it and complaining, this is unfair. Why were they allowed to black it out? And then I was like, that's also kind of fair. Like, maybe they shouldn't have been allowed to black it out. But in the end, I have no regrets about it because it made for amazing TV that like Nick and Adam were able to like unblack it, figure it all out. I didn't care at all. I was like, Kevin with this frat oven, like everything to do with that. I was like, it turned out such good TV that I'm fine with how it worked out, but I can understand that they probably shouldn't have been allowed to do. Maybe the blacking out that probably is not really fair, but they kind of weren't taking no for an answer. I think they had already done it by the time they were like, just so you know, we blacked it out. Like,
what was the line on the bottom? What did the line on the bottom say?
It said this clue cannot be moved.
That was the only rule.
Yeah.
Ian, that's why you don't come up with. That's why they didn't want you playing Survivor stuff.
That's 100% true. Yeah, that's why they.
That might also be a valid point.
Yeah.
Those of you who don't, I know Ian is already. Am I allowed to say? Does it matter how I know you?
You can say whatever you want.
I'm brothers with Cooper, so that's how I am. I know Ian pretty well, so I got some different insight. I don't know anything about the game, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's just interesting that I have different probably perspective of Cooper than you guys do, so it's interesting.
Yeah, well, what do you think of Cooper's strat of coming up with this group idol and then stealing it from them?
That was actually brilliant. If the other two wouldn't have come up with like the whatever nail polish, that would have worked like to perfection. I thought, like when he said that, I was like, oh dude, that's such a good plan, but obviously the other two beat him to it.
See, I didn't think that was a good plan at all because I feel like that would create a lot of distrust between the group, who has it from round to round.
I think the idea of planting, having a fake one with him was like good idea. I don't know about the whole group idol, but the fact, I think that was part of his plan from the beginning, to have this idol to himself that he only had, and to give him this fake idol. Like it might cause mistrust, but the whole time, like he's going to have this idol, which I thought that was like the best part of the plan. But I could see how it could cause some, like whoever doesn't have it, let's just get him out now. So now there's only two of us with this idol. So like I could see that side too.
I feel like Emily B and Bailey would not have caught on to it either. I think the switcheroo was genius. Obviously, passing around a real idol is probably not the best idea, but Cooper had like an 8D plan to it. Like there's like people playing chess, people playing checkers, people playing chess, and then Cooper's playing like 8D chess on his laptop against like an AI, and that was like kind of what his whole idea was. It was just like, let's come up with something that is so, and he does that. Like I feel like we've seen Cooper come up with other ideas like this. I would not be surprised if this is the last of the season, but it would have worked out so well, and he would have been able to read his allies better if he was doing something like this. So like he gets more of an in on what Emily and Bailey are thinking because he'll be able to read their intentions. But obviously none of it goes to plan because they don't get it. Yeah. But I thought it was genius. I thought it was a great move.
My favorite part of the two was when Nick first said it, you can see like Cooper's like look like, oh fuck, like this plan could be done before. So I thought initially that they were just going to try to switch it to Sarah, like there at
Tribal.
Yeah, I thought initially that could happen, but he trusted that Nick wasn't going to play it, I guess. Even if he did, I guess it would have been like Sam going home. So I guess it wouldn't have affected Cooper too much. But I thought there was going to be a switcheroo to Sarah at Tribal.
Cooper's, I did like a joke edit for like our friends right after this happened, where it was just a close up of Cooper's eyes like zooming back and forth, trying to like figure out how did Nick know about it. Like, so that was pretty funny because I think in the moment he might have thought that like Bailey leaked it to Nick or something along those lines, That
would have been my first thought.
Yeah,
I'm surprised like this didn't lead to like a bigger moment at Tribal Council, like where people getting up and talking, because like because a select amount of people like knew about the word you had to say. I feel like that would have raised a lot of question marks for like a lot of people, like who told Nick or who told Adam and stuff like that.
I'm very surprised Bailey does not get up and start panicking like in this moment. Especially with, which I feel like we'll talk about, like the track of Bailey through the whole episode. Like I would have had to imagine Bailey's like, we can't do this anymore, and like tries to like flip the vote onto somebody else, but none of that happened. Which was probably more interesting, honestly. I feel like if it broke out into like a series of whispers, you guys have like would not been able to catch that on film, probably.
Oh, I mean, I would have tried. I would have tried as hard as possible. I would have loved that. But I don't know what we would have. It would have been impossible to know what people were saying or like what was going on. Personally, I actually don't think you should be allowed to whisper at Tribal Council, but that's like a personal thing, mostly because I think it's bad TV. Like when I watch the real show and they start doing it and I can't tell what they're saying, I'm like, if you want to say something, like say it. Like I'd like to see Bailey or Cooper just say out loud, like, not voting for Nick anymore, guys. Like,
see, that's editor Ian talking though. You just like the good TV.
That's
not
true.
Not Survivor Ian.
That's true. No, there's like Ian. Yeah, there's like Ian. If I were in the game, Ian like the viewer, and then Ian the editor, and the editor definitely just cares about good TV mostly.
I think for College Survivor, like whispering is like kind of brutal. We don't all have lav mics. It's kind of tough to work with, obviously. But I think there's definitely a divide with people whispering. But when I was thinking about Cooper and not getting that idol, I don't know. Maybe it probably helps him in some way because there could have been an awkward mishap in the future where they want to make a play. Cooper can't switch this fake idol for the real idol now. I don't know. At least now it's out of the game. The fact that Nick just like threw it on the ground in front of everybody, I was a little shocked about. I don't know, like what that helps, what that does. Maybe he's just a little salty in the moment, but I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I almost feel like Bailey, Cooper, and Emily could like hide behind this. Like they could maybe pretend like they had no idea what it was, and like that it was Nick and Adam that blacked it out the whole time, because Adam said Apollo too, and Adam, I feel like after this round is just going to tell everybody exactly what he thinks happened, and then it's just going to make him look more suspicious.
Yeah, I don't know. I
think
mean,
there's a lot of suspicion that could come from this like whole Apollo
what do
thing.
you guys think of like the stuff that Sam and Adam were saying to like fake out like Nick and Sarah and them? Like, do you think that was believable or not really?
I think for us watching, it's not as believable because we're like, okay, we know what's going on. But when you're in the moment sitting there at Tribal, you're like, these two are actually arguing. Like, it's hard to look that much into it. I mean, you want to try to like know what's going on, like from Nick's perspective, but like you're thinking a million thoughts like a second when you're at Tribal. So I think for us, it's so much easier to see that it was fake. But for him, it's like they're actually like not with each other. So I think it's hard to tell when you're actually at Tribal.
I also have to imagine that if Adam knew about all this, Sam knew about all this. So like, assuming Sam knew about all this, Sam, Adam, and Bailey all going back and forth with each other is just one massive ploy to try to confuse Nick. So like in our head, obviously it seemed a little silly, but Nick is probably the whole time he's not answering questions. He's probably thinking about whether he's going to play it or not and listening to what everyone else is saying and picking up on clues. I don't know if that works. Like, I don't know how much that impacted Nick, but I have to imagine it did, like to a very serious extent. And Bailey did so much this episode. I'm going to go on like a huge Bailey run at some point, talking about all the things Bailey did. I wrote so much of it down because it was hard to keep track of.
I think Bailey's not getting. Bailey needs to get her credit for this episode, though. Like Bailey's like controlling the entire game in this episode and like choosing exactly who she wants to go with. And yeah, it's kind of messy, but like she ends up setting herself up in this alliance where she has this secret girls alliance that no one else knows about. She like has Kevin on the other side on the bottom. Like, I don't know. I'd like to see people giving Bailey some credit for her moves this episode, even though it was very messy.
I think you got to give her credit because she does all that, but then she just like when she got whatever that party was, she just of course has to tell John, Ian and Cooper's roommate at the time, has to tell John what the plan is, and of course John's going to tell Cooper. Like, of course she has to do that. So like she like does all these moves, but then she tells people the wrong stuff about it. It's like you tell people too much sometimes, and it's like her gameplay.
I also want to jump into the John thing real quick just to make sure it's very clear, like the distinction between this moment and the Abby moment from earlier in the season. So I was worried there might be some, oh no, we got production interference again. But in this case, you have a player in the game telling someone who has nothing to do with the game information. So this is a completely different situation than production leaking something. Like anyone who's not like, if you're not playing the game whatsoever, you're not on production, you have nothing is stopping you from doing anything. So like that's on the players. Like you should not be telling people out. You should if you're willing to tell Cooper's roommate something, that's the risk you're taking. And Cooper's roommates have been joking all season. Like, yeah, vote him out. But that's kind of that's like a roommate thing. Like, are you going to trust? I don't know. You gotta make that call for yourself, I think, of whether or not you're going to tell somebody's roommate that you're going to vote him out at Final 7.
Also, at the time, weren't you living with Cooper or am I wrong?
Yeah, I was.
So I was roommates.
Yes, we were all roommates, but I never told Cooper any. If I told John this, that would be out of bounds. Bailey telling John it is a different story.
Well, I guess my question is, did you ever tell John things?
No.
Yeah, no.
The only times I told them stuff was the night of the double tribal. Everyone from Survivor was on North Campus, and I was like, guys, I think Cooper's going home tonight. So just be warned, he's going to be really upset when he gets home because I couldn't go to that tribal. And they were like, oh my God, can we borrow your keys? Let's get some popcorn. Let's go up there. We got to see this shit. But then it didn't end up happening. And then Cooper didn't even get voted out. And then all my roommates were mad at me. They were like, bro, you fucking lied to me. You lied to me. What the fuck? I was like, it's not my fault, bro. I thought Jackson was voting for Cooper. I thought Cooper's going to vote out. So that's the only thing I told him. Besides that, I told him almost nothing because I didn't want to be, especially after the Abby thing, I was like, I did not want to be accused of any kind of skullduggery. And also, Cooper also wouldn't have he's not the kind of person who he would want to cheat in that way. It would it would devalue it to him,
Of course.
At times, I actually threatened. When I was fucking around with Cooper at times, I'd be like, Cooper, here's my computer password. You could go on it and look at all the videos. And then if you win, you'll know it's illegitimate. Even worse than losing, Cooper, is you winning and then me telling everybody you cheated. How illegitimate would that be? They'd be like, bro, shut the fuck up. I'm never doing that. But so there's college angst and stuff like that. But in reality, nothing. So anyways, all I wanted to say was draw a distinction between that and how it is a different situation.
Yeah, I totally see how it's different. It just makes me question Bailey's judgment.
She was drunk.
Yeah, I know. I feel like she should.
Even when she's sober.
Rule. I need to be sober for the season.
Yeah. Was this a good move for Cooper? Nick going home?
I mean, we'll have to see. What do you guys think?
I think it was perhaps a good move because, the previous or the 2 votes ago, right? Like Bailey and Cooper were left out of the vote by like Adawa, by Nick, Andrew, and Sarah. And so what they did like at tonight's vote was a direct reaction to that vote, I believe. They no longer trusted those individuals and they wanted, revenge, as the name of the season is, Revenge Tour.
Well played, Michael. Well said.
Thank you, Jeremy James.
I actually feel like if you look at Cooper's options, if he went with that initial alliance of 8 and you look at the people that are in that group, I feel like the first person that gets turned on when a move gets made is Cooper. I feel like that would have been a very bad group for him. Like it's like Kevin, Megan, Sarah. Like Sarah's talking about all the people she needs to get out, and Cooper's like number 1. Like it's like all these people that probably would have turned on him eventually, and then he swung back with all the people who seem like they have this like bond that they're like not going to vote each other for the moment. And also they're all the bigger threats. Like he's now with Sam and Adam who have attention on them, and Leia who everyone is talking about. And God, who else is in that group? Bailey, who's drawing a lot of attention to herself too. Yeah, like I feel like this was actually a good move for Cooper. I feel like he also didn't like
he doesn't. It seems like he didn't really want to do it. He seems kind of pulled into it.
I don't think he did, but I still think it was better for him.
I agree. And I feel like for me, whatever Cooper decides, if it's always against Sarah, I feel like that's a smart decision because Sarah is like his hidden assassin, right? She wants him out.
Cooper doesn't know that though. He doesn't.
I know. What I'm saying is that him either unintentionally doing moves that are against Sarah is good for his game because Sarah's. Well, I feel like a lot of people in the game aren't going to be with Cooper. I feel like Sarah has a really big vendetta against him, and at the end of the day, she's not going to be with him. Towards the end of the game, while some people like Leia might use him as a shield, or someone like someone like Sam might use him as a shield, down the line. I feel like it'd be good for their games to keep someone like Cooper in, because I feel like Cooper can make it towards the end of the game, final 5, I'd be very surprised if they allow him to get, further into the game at 4-3.
I hope Sarah's whiteboard changes to 0 up there. I hope she counts that as getting screwed over by Cooper.
Oh, me too. I hope so too. I was with Cooper. Was like, how high do you think the count's gonna get? I was like, maybe the highest it gets is 13. I feel like Sarah would keep resetting it to 0 over minor things. It's gone way higher than I thought it was gonna get.
Same.
38 days is a lot.
Dude. I just
it's a long time.
The only thing I'm confused about the whiteboard is just her read on Bailey. I know Bailey gets a lot of credit this episode, but she also gets a lot of discredit, and just how everyone in the game is just dude, Bailey is the definition of a wild card. I think that's just the best way to put it. And if there's any way Bailey's going out of this game, it's literally by her own doing. I feel like everyone kind of thinks that as well, but I don't know. Sam's giving her so much discredit. A lot of people are just Bailey's just bad at this game. I don't know. And the fact that Sarah's just okay, if we sit next to these 4 people, who was it, Cooper, Leia, Bailey, or somebody else, I don't know. I just don't see a way that Bailey can nicely wrap up her game at the end as of right now. I mean, we still have so much more to go, but I don't know. That's just my one thing with Sarah's whiteboard that I was a little surprised about, that people at least have that view of Bailey.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like I go back and forth on Bailey, whether it's she has so much power and control that it's kind of impressive that she can change her mind and the entire game moves with her. But then it's also you keep hearing that no matter what Bailey does, she's not going to get voted out. I don't know where that comes from. I know it's a college Survivor season. So, I have to imagine there's a lot of relationships here. But does that come into play? I think Bailey is laugh out loud funny. When Bailey does confessionals and she changes her mind and she tries to explain why she's changing her mind, and then she explains that she knows she's crazy, that she's changing her mind, I don't stop laughing. I was laughing the whole time Bailey was coming on screen. I think she's hilarious. And I think the gameplay is kind of interesting. I don't really know if Nick going home here was good for her. I wrote this down too. If you looked at that group of 7 and they raised their hands and they were who's going to go, Nick or Sarah? Bailey clearly wanted Sarah to go. And then Bailey got that whole group together, but didn't really ensure the fact that she would be able to protect Nick. And I do feel like Nick staying would have definitely helped Bailey here. So all of the stuff that happened and all the mind changing that happened still led to Bailey's I know Cooper's her number 1, but pre-merge number 1 ally going home. I don't know how I feel about all that.
What do you guys make of speaking of that group of 7 meeting, of Adam's strategy here of it's weird to me kind of that Adam and Nick don't work together after this. Like they find this idol clue together, all this stuff, and then it's weird to me that Adam basically like I feel like either he should be I don't know. I'm curious what you guys thought of Adam's the way he played this whole idol situation and him saying he wants Nick out so that he'll have the idol alone.
See, that's the one thing that confused me because I feel like when you search for an idol together, it typically bonds you. And so, because you have this shared information. And so the fact that Adam quickly turned on Nick, I feel like for me, it didn't really feel like it was his first choice. It felt like that was what the group decided and he kind of had to go along with it. And like, so he just did because like that was his best option was to vote with the remaining 6 people and like what they wanted. But I'm interested to see like how other people feel.
Well, he voted for Nick during that meeting.
Yeah.
Like,
so
okay, did Adam and Nick go to idol search together, or were they just both there? Do you know that, Ian?
No. So what happened was they were just the last 2 there. They were the 2 craziest enough to never leave, right? So like everybody else eventually got bored and was like, well, it's blacked out. What's the point? Let's leave. And Adam and Nick were kind of like, you'd have to ask them, but my read on it was that they kind of realized they were the 2 that were like insane enough and kind of eyeing each other of like, well, let's stick around and like see what else we can do, you know? So it was not so much that they but after that, you would think that would bond them together over this and like form some kind of like secret alliance or something. I'm surprised that didn't happen, you know?
I'm not surprised that didn't happen because I feel like their groups were against each other regardless. And
yeah, but it could be good to have someone like Cooper and Andrew. It can be good to have somebody on the other side.
I think his thinking was, I don't know, like how I forgot how much time was between when they did that and like tribal, but like I know the plan then was for Nick and then Sam would have been the person to go. Obviously, if Nick gets the idol and plays it, Adam doesn't want Sam going, so I don't know if that was in any of his thought process, but like I think that could have been a reason not to work together. But I think the fact that they did that and they probably had a couple days to like plan stuff out together if they wanted to, I think they probably should have worked together. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I think the idol is just too inherently threatening for both of them. Like they know that if the other goes, they have all the information about the idol to themselves. Like I think them being together for that whole thing makes each other like their number one threat because of the idol circumstance, especially because they both felt like they needed it so badly. Like they both felt like they had to say Apollo in the first 20 seconds of tribal. Nick said it in the first 2 seconds of tribal, so Adam lost the race. But like it seemed like that idol pits them against each other no matter what if they're not like at least like average allies before that circumstance happens. But I feel like if you're not allies with a person that you're going to look for an idol with, and then you're like fighting with that person to say a word at tribal, you're just going to be pitted against each other no matter what.
I really want to know the recoil of Adam saying Apollo for like no reason too,
We'll
because I mean he doesn't know that Cooper and Emily and Bailey know. So I'm very curious to see what happens there. Because wait, in the trailer, Cooper was like that was like not ideal or something like that. So I don't know.
That was him doing some damage control with Sarah.
Yeah, with Sarah.
I didn't see who the other person was. So okay, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's gonna know that someone knows because obviously someone had to black it out. So he's gonna know that someone knows that he and
I will say
about it. So like
there were some rumors that production had blacked it out and that it was meant to be like an extra challenge. I don't know if Cooper and Emily and Bailey started spreading that, but somebody started spreading that as like, oh, maybe it was production.
I feel like this also only bounces back on Cooper if Emily says that she was looking with Cooper. Because, okay, this was my other thing. Emily and Cooper and Bailey blacked out the clue, and then the 24 hours expires, and they did not have an alibi plan at all. Like, they did not even think what they were going to say to all those people. There were, like, 6 people sitting there in the library, and they were like, Emily, it's blacked out, what the heck? And Emily's like, oh, I don't know, someone else must have done it. Like, she probably should have taken ownership for it and just, like, said it was her.
Well, I think that because it took Emily so long to find the book, part of the rationale was like, oh, maybe people won't find it if they don't like do what we did, but everybody else was able to find it like relatively quickly. So I feel like that like didn't quite work out for them, but I think that was part of it.
My question is, if they would have asked you beforehand, hey, could we black this out? Would you have said yes or no?
Well, that's sort of, I ended up saying yes, because everyone else in production at this point was so like, production was also at this point kind of had been through the ringer and people didn't want to be blamed for like things. So it was like, all right, Ian was in charge of these idol clues. Let's make Ian the let's throw Ian to the wolves on this, and he'll
guy?
just basically like Ian, this was your idol clue. You're in charge of this. You can decide whatever you want, and then we'll just blame you if people don't agree with it. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of come from a rule of thought of like, if I was them, I would also be looking for loopholes, and it's on the writer of the rules to make those loopholes not exist. So I kind of did agree with them that they should be able to do it because, but they also asked if they could like rip it up, and I was like, no, you can't destroy it. It has to be like the clue has to still exist. You know, they're like, nothing ever said we couldn't just like rip it into pieces. I was like, okay.
It was like, I guess the one thing that confused me was that like the line at the bottom that said like you couldn't move it, right? The sentiment behind that was like you wanted people to like, see the clue and go to the next clue, right?
Yes.
So the fact that like I guess people were allowed to destroy or alter the message like kind of meant the same thing, which is that you were like you're moving the clue.
Right. So both sides, I think, had a fair point, right? So basically, Bailey and Emily B and Cooper were like, this advantage Emily B got was worthless because her getting one day ahead, if everybody's going to get to the end and know that it's Apollo, what's good is her advantage, basically, because it didn't let us actually get to the idol first and get the idol. Everybody has to wait till tribal, so the advantage is worthless. So that was their argument. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense to me. I understand what you guys are saying, so it's fine. You guys can black it out. Then everybody else came around, and everybody else was like, this is completely bullshit. Clearly, the intent behind this was that, like, they would get a head start, but everybody would get to like keep doing it. And I was like, that's also a really good point. Like, yeah, I agree. That's not fair. So honestly, it was a little goofy. Again, it worked out for good TV, so I don't really care. But part of it also is that like, I'm pretty sure that I wasn't aware of the way the clues are going to be distributed. So all I did was make all the clues and stuff. But whoever came up with like the advantage that Emily B would like get it earlier than everybody else, that was somebody else entirely. So I didn't like the way those two things interacted was not perhaps the most well thought out. But again, good TV. So I don't care. But if I was a player, I could see how they would be like reasonably griped about it. But like AJ and Nick found the idol clue, so whatever. And we did have to have a contingency for if we were like, what if like 4 people just shouted at it once? I was like, all right, we'll have to pause the camera and we'll do instant replay. And whoever's mouth finished moving first is who will get it. There's no other way.
Could you imagine if that happened? Like the other players like looking around, like what is going on? Like,
but people thought that might happen. People were like, dude, what if like, because once Adam and Nick had it, people were like, what if they tell other people? What if Adam tells Sam? What if Nick tells Sarah? Like, it could like get around to everybody.
Is that why Brady had to make that announcement? Like tribal council is now started.
Yes, that was a big thing. Was when does tribal council start? They're like, what if people like when they're walking in and they say it? Like what's the line? You're like, all right, Brady's gonna say tribal council has officially started. That's
with how hard Adam's been playing throughout the season. You know, he dyed his hair, he shaved his head. I'm surprised he didn't say it immediately as Brady said.
Yeah, well, I have to ask him. I'm surprised he didn't say it immediately too. I think he wanted to come off more casual then. I think he didn't want it to be obvious, you know.
Everybody wanted to be casual. Nick was really just like, I gotta bite the bullet and do it here. It's crazy because, and then Michael, you'll go back. But like, it was he had such the intention of doing everything that he did, and then he didn't pull the trigger.
See, the thing that confuses me is that like they knew that other people knew about this clue, so what was the point of waiting and like trying to be coy with it or cute with it and trying to like integrate it into like an analogy? I feel like you might as well just say it immediately. Like no one's gonna like.
Yeah, because this is before Survivor 41, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what 2019.
Yeah.
You guys, am I missing something? Like, was this like the first iteration of this? Like,
no, we came up with this. Honestly, I came up with this. They let me control the idol clues at the merge, and I was like, it always bothered me that the idol clues in the early parts of the game and other Survivor Michigan seasons, the first couple clues are just worthless. It's like, oh, it's in a bush, it's in a tree. I was like, that's not good TV, and it's not good for the players. It's basically worthless. So I was like, let's make the idol clues. This is All Stars. Let's make them super, super hard riddles, like actual riddles, but like solvable. This first set, it turns out they were a little too easy because pretty much everybody figured it out. I honestly thought the call number would be more difficult to figure out, but I don't know. I was wrong. But
your intention that like this would become public, like that this would be a public idol.
No, not really. I mean, not really. The intention behind it was that not everybody would get to the end, so there'd be some people trying to jostle and say Apollo, but it didn't totally work out that way. Yeah, I don't know. It was funny. It ended up being pretty funny. The image of Kevin just putting it in his oven, just like I was like, bro, what?
Did he say he put nail polish on it instead of nail polish remover? Did I catch that right?
I actually never caught that until now, but yeah, I guess that is probably why it didn't work for him. When I first saw that Kevin footage, I was really confused because like I was like, wait, I don't understand. I didn't understand the timeline of it at all. I was like, I didn't know about that Kevin thing until I watched the footage. And I see his footage where he's describing putting this oven and like him putting it in there and all this stuff. And I was just like, wait, what? When did this even happen? And so it's I reached out to Nick and them. They were like, oh yeah, like we actually re-sharpied them. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have Shannon explain this. Like this is so confusing.
Just going back a sec though, like I know exactly what you're talking about, like how you were like thrown to the wolves. But, like the one way to piss off the entire cast, like as from a host perspective, is to like patch up a loophole. So I think you took the right approach, honestly. I think you did. Especially with all these competitive students.
Also,
like, I know they would tear you apart.
You also understand this cast will come for you on production, you know, like they're like texting you incessantly, like this is unfair. Like they're looking for any little thing. So like you really had to be like nailed, locked down on all of the rules. Like every single challenge, there was people trying to, you know, get around shit. Like, yeah. Let's talk about also some of the other people in this episode, like, and how we feel like they're doing.
Can we go back to Emily B?
Yes, Emily B also, I think, is an interesting character.
Also, did Megan's cat die? Why did Megan's cat just go invisible? Like
it's something with her camera. It's a very weird thing. Yeah, it looks like a ghost.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who noticed that.
I also thought the cat was a hologram, but that was obviously not the case. That would have been very impressive on Megan's part. I thought this was like the best move for Emily B, like of all people on the board. I would give her like the MVP of the episode. She also like put her foot down because Cooper did not want that to flip onto Nick and Sarah, I think, at first. And people don't normally push back against Cooper, but Emily was like, hell no, like that doesn't look good for me at all. Like all those people would not be my allies. And then she flipped, and she also got the target to be Nick instead of Sarah, which probably does inherently help her more. Yeah, I feel like she just did like thing after thing after thing this episode. That was like really good.
Yeah, I think that before this episode, people were like, okay, Emily, like no one really talks about her. She's in a pretty good spot. Like we can see her getting to the end, but she's not going to be anyone. I think it's now she can probably get to the end, or she could get to the end, but like now she has reasons to actually win the game. So I think that was a big episode for her. Like not only can she get to the end, but I think she can actually win the game. I will say I still think Crouch has that idol. I don't know for sure. I still think Crouch has the idol. It's what I've always thought, but I don't know. Maybe if she does have it, then even better.
Honestly, I think Emily B has it. So it's very funny that you think that it's Crouch. I don't have rational reason to believe that it's Emily B. It's just like what I think.
Same.
Yeah, I feel like Emily B made the best decision for her this episode. At the start, I was kind of confused because, you know, Emily B, Leia, and Bree had an alliance with Will, and then once Will got voted out, I was like, okay, like what is the state of that alliance? And I think the episode clarified it for me. Like they're still together. They pulled in Bailey and Cooper and AJ and Sam, and you know they made a decision that I feel like really mostly benefited Emily because within that group she's in the best position. Like she just came from a swap tribe with Adam and Sam, and I feel like she has connections all across the board, and I feel like she's in a really solid state.
Also, that advantage she got is terrible.
Oh yeah, what do people make of the right of revenge?
I disagree. I think it's a really good advantage. Because,
really?
Yeah, I do agree. It's a good advantage because it's a good advantage if everyone knows about it, and that's exactly what she did. She posted in the group me. She said, basically, if you vote me out, then you know I can vote you at the following tribal council. Like she did exactly what she needed to do. She made it public. Right? If this was like a secret advantage, it has no power. But for her making it public, it adds a lot of power to it. Maybe not the most, but definitely, you know, it makes people feel like, okay, cool. We can keep Emily around until Final 5 when her advantage has no more power, and then we can vote her out. Hey, but at least it gets her to Final 5.
You see, what I'm afraid of is that like her closest allies are going to want to vote her out and then set it up so when she gets voted out, she's going to vote a specific way that they could use for like the next tribal, almost like a Survivor Game Changers where like they're going to vote her out so that way they could use her vote in a future tribal. That was my biggest concern immediately once I saw the advantage. And then when she posted it publicly, I feel like it's almost like incentivizing those people to do that. I do see what you're saying too. Obviously, like if you vote Emily B out, Emily B is going to be like, "Fuck you, I'm voting for you." Then, but I'm so scared that she's going to get close to somebody, and that person is intentionally getting close to her because they want to use her for that vote once they burn her in a way that she doesn't think that they burned her.
See, I feel like you can't really fully account for how people are going to respond to being voted out because at that state, I'm assuming you had to make the decision on who you want to vote the next following tribal council relatively quickly. And so you're thinking in your head, okay, who betrayed me? Who can like my vote actually help out in the game? And I feel like, you can't really rely on if they're going to vote one way or the other. And like, also it's just one vote, right? So like, that really only has an impact like if the vote is close or if it's tied. If it's like 4-4 or 3-3, then that one vote comes into play. But if the vote is like very lopsided, like 6-3, that extra vote's not going to really mean much.
I also think, I know we like on our season, Michael, season 1, like how like one vote, I think one vote could just make it so like it just puts all the attention on that person where like even if it's not going to be them before the week, it's just puts in people's eyes like, hey,
well, it's anonymous, right?
You don't know. Everyone in the game won't know who the vote is.
She can't like talk to people, right?
No.
Okay.
How it works is if you get voted out with this at your final, like when you go to the voting booth to give your final, speech, and then you have to vote again right there for who you want at the next tribal council.
I just think there's so many steps to it. Like there's so many steps for it to be played correctly. Like, I don't know. If this is used correctly, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be worth it. It's just like they're gonna have to think of the mind of Emily B and like, are they really gonna base their whole game around what she's gonna vote for? Unless they literally like, because she's gonna have to get blindsided, and then like if she's blindsided, then they're gonna be like, okay, we didn't really have time to talk to her about what she was gonna vote, so now they're just kind of like, all right, and then there's probably just gonna be a stray vote on someone randomly, and then everyone's probably just gonna figure out it was Emily B. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many steps to it that it's just like.
I'd like to give Austin from Survivor Michigan props for this one. I'm pretty sure he's the one who came up with this. And I liked the idea of it mostly because I would have liked us to do a little bit more with the revenge theme. Like at one point in time, I was discussing like something along the lines of like kind of similar to like how Sarah wants out Cooper, like everybody at the beginning of the game, like naming somebody they want revenge on or something. And like, if you get out that person, you get some kind of advantage. And we never did anything like that, but like, I would have liked to have seen us do a little bit more with the revenge angle. So having an advantage that like is thematically related to the name of the season, I thought was just kind of a cool idea.
And I like that. Like when I think of revenge, like I feel like that advantage is kind of like known to like the org, community. And so I definitely like felt like it played thematically, into the season. I feel like, in a way we were kind of missing that. And I feel like this added that element to the merge.
What did you guys make of Cooper not believing John about the Girls Alliance? So like Cooper is basically told, oh yeah, like Bailey was saying this, oh, they're going to get you out at 7, yada, yada. And Cooper he was really dismissive of this.
I think initially he just probably won't believe it. I think he'll believe because it says in thing they're both still hungover. Cooper is a very logical thinker, like when he's completely sober. So I think he'll be like, why would John ever say that to me? Like, I know there fucking gonna be some, but like, I think he'll come around to believe it. But I think initially it's interesting to see him think that.
Part of it, like this obviously is not going to get shown in the show because like it's happening all the time. But there also was every time Cooper would leave for tribal, one of my roommates would be like, hey, you're getting voted out tonight. Like the very every single tribal, somebody would say to him, like, don't you know, Ian told me you're going home. They'd be like messing with him. So I do think by this, but I just wasn't filming it. This one I filmed because I was like, depending how this season shakes out, this might need to be included. And so I ended up including it. But
one time they don't say anything. Cooper's
like Cooper might have been just desensitized to this kind of thing at this point, or like inclined to not believe anything that we were saying.
Yeah.
Because the impression I got was that, like, I feel like he was dismissive of it because he, like, didn't want it affecting his game. Like, that, like, an outside individual, like, was able to influence, like, how he was thinking in the game. I feel like as a player, you want, like, your conversations amongst each other to determine your decisions, not, like, a player telling, like, a third party and that third party telling you. I feel like it feels like, I don't know, it feels wrong in a way sometimes, like, I don't know, if you enlist your friends to help, search for the idol, right? And you're searching with your friends, and then like your friend finds the idol for you, it kind of feels wrong in the way. Like you want the player to find the idol, not like the friend.
That's probably why Cooper didn't even respond to it. He was like, "You're not a player, and you're not someone who can give me information that's going to impact my thought process right now."
I think if Cooper catches wind from like a player in the game, then he might take a double check and think about it again. Because I think Cooper has pretty good awareness in the game. So I feel like this will come back.
It's meant to be somewhat of a foreboding scene. I don't think there's any hiding that, like with the music and stuff. Like it's meant to be a sort of, ooh, where's this gonna go kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys make of that girls' alliance? Like, do you think Leia would like stick to that over Cooper, or like, I mean, Leia hasn't told Cooper about it at this point,
Oh, okay. I think Leia ate this entire episode. She devoured. She left no crumbs. I love the fact that she went into Cooper's room and she found that phantom boat. I was screaming. I was like, praise. I thought that was really.
Why did he hide it in like just the front door of the top door of his desk? It wasn't
No. How is Cooper supposed to believe that someone is going to go into his room and open his drawer and find it in his personal belongings?
Out of everybody,
I don't know.
Leia.
I don't think that's honestly. I don't think it's that out of bounds. Like Cooper is so paranoid. I think he could have put it in underwear drawer or something. Like,
I think the
why
funniest
even have it still? Get rid of it after you've played it.
The funniest part about it was he told me a couple things before the season. Like he told me he made merge. He said like somebody went into his room and like found something. Leia was like the last person. I thought it was gonna be somebody like Nick or like Adam, somebody like sneaky. Of course, it was like Leia, like his best friend in the game, like goes into his room and finds it. I thought that was the best part of it.
I remember also that tailgate that was like that rumor was like going around, like Leia stuck it in Cooper's room, and Cooper also is just like blackout as well, basically. Like, so he's I shouldn't have said that on air, but anyways, Cooper was like not in the state to be like dealing with this, so like he's just like lying across Sam and Leia. They're like singing songs, and Leia, and they're just like everyone's just laughing at him. Oh, it's funny as fuck.
I like it when Survivor makes people do like unhinged things. Like in the real world, like going to people's rooms without their permissions is bad. But in the context of Survivor, I don't know, for some reason it seems fun, especially when it like pays off. Like when Sam, was looking at Emily B, walking into the library, like in a real context, like it's weird to follow people, but like in Survivor, it seems fun.
Oh yeah, I would have done it. It's funny that people were also like mocking Tom for doing the same thing early in the season. And then here Sam is peeking around a tree with a pizza box in his hand at the library. And he doesn't even go into the library himself. He enlists his ally to do it for him so he can never get caught for snooping. I would snoop all the time, but that would also mean I feel like Sam doesn't go to class. That's also a vibe I get.
See, if I was Sam, I feel like I would have confronted Emily B. I'm like, okay, like, let's go together. Like, I'm not letting you leave. Like, I feel like there's danger in doing that because it pisses off the person. But I feel like ultimately, a situation like that could bring people closer together because it's like, okay, you mutually have like the same information. Like, might as well work together. Again, like, that's what really shocks me about like the Nick and Adam situation. I'm like, why they ultimately didn't work together, especially considering they like went through this endeavor, to get the idol together.
One thing I did like about the this episode felt like one of the most like college episodes of College Survivor, where we have like the tailgate is impacting the game, them going out on Halloween is impacting the game. And I know there's probably people like, I know like the lengths of all the episodes has been kind of a criticism, and I think at times a fair one. And there's versions of this where you could just have, a 30-second confession of Leia saying she's stuck into Cooper's room at a tailgate, or like you could just have John and Cooper after the Halloween party. But there's times where it's like it adds to the like feeling of it to like understand like, oh, they're drinking, they're at a party, whatever. To me, that adds like a lot of context to the show and makes it makes College Survivor special versus Real Survivor. I like those two segments of this episode for that reason. It shows that like these people are, and it shows like a larger point kind of that like we're seeing like Aaron and Chloe, like there's people even not in the game who are still hanging out with them. And you just kind of see that it really was this like community of people who are all doing this thing together, both in and outside of it.
I agree. I feel like it adds like the scenes like that have like nothing to do with the game. It adds character and it adds tone to the season. It helps us feel like a certain way. And so like, I like seeing those, interactions and scenes amongst the players, right? Because like, people watch YouTube, right? And they watch people vlog all the time, right? And like, I feel like, seeing those moments or like watching people's like vlogs, in real life, and people watch those just for fun. So like I enjoy watching them. I could see why people, maybe might not like watching them because it takes away from like the gameplay. But I feel like it adds, as you said, like context and character to the season.
I also feel like College Survivor is like for the utmost of Survivor super fans, and like if you're so super into this stuff, then like you could watch a 2-hour merge episode. I think like the only episode I watched that I was like, oh, this is like longer than it should be is like maybe episode 2, but like other than that, I think like the length of the episodes tells the story that's like it's like surmounting to like 4 seasons of the show. Like if you've watched all those seasons and then you're waiting for All Stars and we waited a while for it, like you want all of the meat and potatoes behind it. I feel like I don't think that I know people obviously have more value for their time maybe than I do, but some people I like as much content that we're getting. I almost hope you stay this long.
There will not be another 2-hour episode. I'll say that. This is the longest episode of the whole season.
Is it longer than the finale?
I won't make any promises about the finale, but besides the finale, this is the longest episode of the season. But
finale's gonna be like 9
I had
hours.
something to add on. Wait, do I sound better, by the way?
You sound great.
You sound
Dude,
great.
I think I was using my webcam mic the whole time. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, no, for real. I mean, it's like people like watching Winners at War complaining that there's not enough time on Edge of Extinction, and then like people want more time like in the episodes. And like I feel like everyone who's watching like Survivor Michigan are people who've seen every season of Survivor. Like I feel like they're like big fans of Survivor, and I'm just surprised that anyone would complain about the length, especially when you can just watch it a different time. And I don't know. And then we get to see baby Ian as in Kids Next Door. I don't know, I think it's a great time. That's the thing about College Survivor is it's like a different kind of Survivor. If you want to just see strategy and not the fun parts, I don't know, go watch Liberty University or something like that.
It's like there's a streamlined version of like part of it is that there's a streamlined version of this episode where you don't even need like to a degree you might not even need Bailey's 8. You could make it look like a CBS version of this episode is probably just like they have the challenge and then what's the merge majority going to be, and it's going to be this group of 7, and you don't even need the original alliance. You could cut it all out completely, but to me that would take so much away of like how big of a moment this felt in real life, that like it really did feel like a gigantic flip, even though that alliance had never actually voted together yet. It felt like enough of a solidified thing that it was perceived as such a huge moment in the game that it felt like it would be wrong to not really show the context leading up to it. But that being said, especially if you're watching it live, I understand people are like, and if you don't know what's happening, you could be like, why do I need this scene? This is girls' alliance. Let's get to tribal. But if you know what I know, you might be like, kind of need that.
I mean, I also think if you're this far into the season, like you're obviously into the season, like if people are still complaining about the time, I don't understand that, and like stop watching the season. So I don't.
I'm not gonna tell anyone. I would never tell anyone to stop watching it. Maybe take it in smaller chunks if you want. I will say that in the early stage of the season, I talked about if it was possible to do like shorter episodes, but episodes without tribals and stuff like that, like maybe 2 episodes a week, where like one is the challenge and one is the tribal or something, like more like Big Brother. But I decided that was like a worse way of doing it, and I'd rather just have longer episodes than do that. So
I think you might have learned from the fans that episodes should end in tribals.
I think if there was ever another cliffhanger episode, people might stop watching the show.
I'd have to put out a missing persons report for you.
I mean, we would never stop watching the show, but there would be a certain group that probably would. A decline.
Who else? Is there anybody we haven't touched on so far? How do people feel about like Megan or Kevin's position right now?
I feel like Megan and like also like Bree, I feel like we haven't really touched upon either. I feel like to me they somewhat feel irrelevant to the storyline as of right now. I'm sure they become like more relevant as like the season progresses. But like Bree was giving me like second placer vibes. Like she was saying that how she wants to be utilized, and like I don't know, that's like not giving me a good impression about how she, is going to, progress in the season. I feel like she like isn't putting in as much effort as the other players in the game, and I feel like that's going to help her get far into the game. And the fact that like she's not taken out in like the early stages of the merge makes me feel like, she's going to make it super far. Hopefully, I feel like she picks it up and starts to make, big plays. But as of right now, it kind of feel like I don't know. I have this impression that it's going to be like a final 2 or final 3, and I feel like Bree or Sarah are going to make it to the end, and I feel like Bree is going to be like that person who like doesn't get respect.
What about Sarah?
I agree. I have a lot to say about Bree too.
I think one thing with Bree, and it was something she said during this episode where I think she will make a move, whether like that'll like ultimately help her or hurt her. She's like they're saying I'm a goat, and she's like I'm not I'm not a goat. So I think that could be something for like in the future where she's gonna try to make a big move, whether that helps her or not. I do think we'll see her play a bigger role in the next couple episodes.
There was a lot of like I feel like hype for Bree coming back. And like there's definitely like a bunch of Bree stands coming in. I can't say I was one of them, but I love her as a character. But I just feel like slowly as the season's gone on, there's just like a decline of like just a lot of showing but not telling with Bree. And that's why I don't know. She gives these one-liners every once in a while just to be like, hey, I'm still here. So I'm definitely waiting for something to happen with Bree. But as of right now, like I just feel like Bree's like just kind of there right now. So yeah, a 0 vote finalist, if you will, if that were to be. But I don't know. Something needs to happen with her.
I feel like Bree doesn't understand like what makes a player a GOAT. I feel like her impression of a GOAT is like, oh, like I'm not, I'm just listening to other people. I'm just following plans. And like, whilst that certainly makes a GOAT, I feel like in the context of College Survivor, a GOAT is someone who doesn't put in enough effort as like other players in the game. And I feel like she kind of lacks that critical understanding about, how the more effort you put in, the more you get out of this experience, the more the jury's going to value you as a player. And if you're not meeting up with like, if let's say you're having like a third of the conversations as everyone else is having, well, that's going to factor into their impression and their perception of you. So I don't feel like she's a GOAT in the critical, in the sense that like, oh, she doesn't like have critical thinking skills and she's just following other people. I feel like it just really comes down to effort. And I feel like Nick highlighted that. Like Nick, she was, watching K-pop or doing other things, and like while Survivor doesn't have to be the only thing you do throughout the semester, you have to make people believe that's the only thing you're doing throughout the semester, because ultimately you make it to the merge, like the jury's gonna, vote for you to win. So they're gonna vote for the person who they feel like, put in just as much time as they did.
I feel like Bree was doing that at the start of the game. Like I was like in the YouTube comments making like these like ridiculously long rankings at the beginning, and I was like, I can't do this forever, so I just stopped. But like Bree was like so at the top of them because I felt like she was insulating herself to the point to get all this information, and then I feel like she has all the information still flowing to her, but she like doesn't do anything with it. Like that's my missing.
Question is, does she need to though? Like, what does she like?
She might not need to, but it's appearing like she's not doing anything with anything. The way people are talking about her. I don't see it that way because I think having all the information in Survivor and kind of waiting is like not a bad move at all. But in like a College Survivor season where like you have to have conversations with almost everybody every single round if you want people to start like respecting you, it just doesn't seem like she's doing that. But she has all the information because the people she's aligned with are telling her everything. It seems. It's just like, where is it going to lead to?
Not to mention in an all-star season too.
Yeah.
It's tough because like you could be playing super hard for regular season, but like you have people who are like scribbling out idle clues and like staying up all night on scratching clues out, and like the level to which people are considering like hard gameplay of Leia sneaking into Cooper's room. It's like if you didn't do at least one insane thing on All Stars, I don't know if you really were like a true All Star. AJ shaved his head.
I agree. I feel like Bree,
like Jeremy. Should we get Jeremy in here at times?
I will say not my favorite part, but like the best parts of the episode is you can slowly see Adam's hair just growing back. Like throughout like the episode, it's like Adam's hair is slowly like just getting a little more and more. I think that was like one of the funniest parts of the episode for me.
As much as I love Adam, I cannot help but laugh when he cried about losing the challenge. I think when I saw his tears, I started laughing. I thought it was funny. I do believe that obviously he like needed the immunity and it would have been cool for him to have it. But I thought it was a very funny Adam moment because Adam's just all over the place all the time. Another person that makes me just laugh out loud like every time he's on camera.
Adam's growing on me for sure. And it was funny because like the episode before he was like, yeah, and Cooper was crying. Like I was like, come on, Adam. He's growing on me. A few people were like, what's Adam doing on the season? But he's making his mark now and I'm for it now. I'm cool with it.
One of my favorites, I think. I think all of them are favorites, but like people who put in that much effort and are very entertaining with putting in the effort are great.
My favorite quote of the season so far is juvenile as hell, but it's "Bitch, I'm serving head."
Dude, every single time I watched him say that made me laugh. Grade A raw meat head every single time. That made me laugh every single time.
I literally have it in my notes. That's it. It's just "Bitch, I'm serving head." That's it.
I think that this question. All right, sorry, I'll let you go, Michael. Then we'll get to.
I just wanted to bring up Sarah. Like the one thing that just baffled me about the episode is that Sarah was okay with the votes being split 4-4, right? And like that's exactly what happened like 2 rounds ago, and she exploited that. So like what really confused me is like how she really thought that her plan would go according to action concerning the last time this very situation happened. She took advantage of it.
Yeah, I have no idea how that group of 8 thought in a season of All-Stars, like, stuff would go that smoothly. Like, I don't know how they would ever agree upon a 4-4-4 vote. Like, how would that ever work especially like a season like this? Like, how would that ever go through with the plan? That makes no sense.
That scene is underrated. So funny to me because basically none of it's like they're describing this plan and Sarah, Megan, Andrew already knows this isn't happening. We later find out that Nick doesn't think Nick feels really sus about it. And Sarah and Megan they're like, this is clearly not going to work out for us either. It's like only Kevin actually believes it will work, which is really funny to me in an ironic way that like, and now only Kevin believes the alliance is loyal to him. But yeah, you're right. 4-4-4 doesn't make any sense. That's so dangerous. Even one person could ruin it. I don't understand. That's so dangerous.
Yeah, that was the stupidest thing. I think I have no idea how any of them were okay with that like didn't know what the actual plan was.
Yeah, and it's so sad that so many of them have the right read here. And like when they had the right read at the last round, they were able to like whip stuff together and try to pull a move out of it. But it seems like they weren't, I guess, like entertaining the idea of doing that here, which I guess is fair because there's a lot more numbers at play and there's not 2 people going home, there's 1. But like they all thought that this plan wasn't going to work. And then all of these very good players did nothing about it.
I think you can see that like Megan's immune. So she's kind of like Megan's kind of at a point at this point where she kind of knows it's not, even if she wasn't immune, I think she kind of knows it's not going to be her right this moment. So she's kind of content to like not make it her by trying to blow something up. Sarah and Nick are worried. Everyone's worried. Everyone has a slight, like Andrew knows what's going on. And he's like, if I blow it up, could it just bounce back on? It's like this week, I think the paranoia about it bouncing back on you. The first merge vote is a very stressful time.
It is.
See, I feel like for Megan, she should have used this week to play hard, right? Mm-hmm. When you're safe and you know you're safe and everyone knows you're safe, I feel like that gives you the perfect opportunity to do whatever you can to like put yourself in a better position. And the fact that she was just content and following along with the group, I feel like it was a really bad thing for her to do in her game.
I think overall it could be bad, but like in her eyes, I can see maybe what she's thinking. Like, if I try to change things up this week, I'll be perceived as a threat. And like she had just spent the last 3 weeks, like finally getting back down to like the lower threat level because her and Jackson were like so up here the rest of the time where it's like she had finally gotten to where she loves to be in the game, like no one talking about her. I didn't think she would want to be the center of attention again. So I think she, in her mind, was like, let's just let these weeks go by and I'll just fly under the radar like I like to do.
See, I feel like there's a difference between being under the radar and being complacent. Like Megan, I feel like this episode was a little complacent, and I feel like you can be under the radar, having necessary conversations, but at the same time, not drawing a lot of attention to yourself. You can puppeteer things from behind the scenes, and that's what makes someone a really good player. Like what Sarah was able to do a few episodes ago. Right. I feel like she was able to play under the radar and she had the necessary conversations and she was able to whip out a really clever, vote split based upon like how people were dividing in their votes, like at that tribal council.
I also feel like, I don't want to say this, but like voting out Jesse was probably I said this when I watched the episode. Why didn't they take a bigger swing? And I don't know if it would have changed anything here, but like imagine, I think the only other person they could have gone for with the people that voted that way was Leia. And like, even if they voted Leia out, like, would it have changed anything? Like Cooper and Bailey are still mad. They're probably still going to try to flock away at that point, especially if it's Leia that goes home. Cause like I tried to go through that thought process too. Like, was there a better move? But like, I don't think they get out of this either way if they turn on Cooper and Bailey at that vote.
I have some thoughts on this, but I don't feel like it's the time to share them. But I do think this season is a lot of very, very interesting what ifs where if one, because there's so much little stuff, it's like some examples are like if Kevin didn't flip on Will, I think Will was set up to go so far in this game. I don't like, I can't immediately think of it like, oh, that's when Will would have gotten voted out, you know? And there's a lot of other moments like that too. Nick playing an idol right here, you know, it's like, I have to think that if Nick had played the idol right here, does Nick just go home next? I don't think so. I think Nick's a really good Survivor player. I think he goes to Bailey, he goes to Cooper, and he like pulls on some heartstrings. I think there's a lot Nick can do here. So, you know, I'd be very curious to see what would have happened if he just plays the idol. And there's a lot of moments like that. And if Jackson just voted for Cooper, you know.
I feel like there's a lot of what ifs for me when talking about just Sam and how he's still in the game.
Oh,
like every week.
I mean, Sam
talking about Sam.
It's like Sam. The first week, right? He has the text gate scandal. Then he would have gone home week 3 if their plan had worked. If he hadn't gotten sussed, if Megan hadn't told Adam she was considering doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week, all Nick has to do is play the idol that he's been talking about playing all day, and Sam goes home.
Wasn't Sam the target?
I'm rooting for Sam now.
Was Sam?
It feels like Sam's on borrowed time a bit here. I do think.
Yeah.
Was Sam the target at the Aaron Tribal too?
No, it was Lucy. Because they were saying that Lucy was least likely to have an idol played on her. So he
and
wasn't.
Then also
but...
Sam tried to take out Cooper and he failed there too. So like it's like thing after, and then Sam and Cooper voted together here, which blew my mind. But
yeah,
I can talk on that. Cooper I know him obviously better than all of you guys. I'm his brother, but like he will not in a game like this, especially take anything emotionally. It's all like I call him a robot because he just thinks like so robotically, where it's like this is the best option. I have to do this. Like he will not care who votes for him if it benefits him. He'll go work with that person, which is interesting. That like it's not my mindset, but it's interesting that like I know him so well that he doesn't care who votes for him. If it's better for his game, he will do that no matter what.
I want to talk about one thing about Leia's list. Like when I heard about this list and how it was like half the cast, dude, I feel like that would have pissed off so many people. And I know like when the Victor's Valiant people came on, they're like Leia knows what game she's playing, right? I don't know. It just seems like everybody has this general idea that like Leia just will like not vote for some people, and just the fact that information's out there is, I think it's crazy. I don't know.
It is crazy. I'll say that the Leia's strategy. Some people might not like it. Some people might think it's not Survivor. I think it's fucking fascinating that someone would try to do that, and I'm curious to see what people think of how it pans out, because I just have never seen putting that out there so publicly. Like it's like how it affects the dynamics is gonna be very interesting to see going forward.
See, here's my hot take. I feel like Leia is so emotional that she will change her mind on that list. Like she has this list of people that she won't vote out. I feel like that's foreshadowing because she will vote out those people when it comes down to it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we've already seen, Leia be bothered by, Cooper lying to her. And I feel like you can only put up with that so much before, you get fed up with it and you're like, you know what, screw it. Bye, Cooper.
I think the foreshadowing part of it was she's not going to write your name down unless she knows you're writing her name down. So I think that will be the thing that'll do it. But like, I don't think she'll just do it just because. She'll have to have they're voting for me. I feel like as a person I can vote for you.
How does like every other player, once they hear about the 4 people that you want to vote for, how do the other 7 not get together and just be like, Leia it is?
Yeah, I mean, this week that didn't happen. We'll have to see if that ever comes into play. But
are people like worried that like Leia's like gonna like ruin like a friendship outside of the game? Like, is she like threatening that relationship like outside of the game? Is that like a part of it? Because like even Bree was just like, we won't be if you're not gonna be friends with me because of this, like then we weren't friends at all.
Yeah. And
I was kind of like, dude, yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. Like I've never heard of anything like this. I love Leia. I think she's a great character, but if I was a person on the bottom and I heard that, I would be livid and I'd be kicking and screaming to make something happen because I don't know.
Yeah, I think Leia's a fascinating character on the show. Whether or not I think her strategy is like good or like I don't know, a good way to like try to win the game is a different story. But she's playing a different game, similar to Kevin. Like Kevin is kind of playing this game of like just really he just wants Cooper and Sam out and just wants to cause pure chaos. And so if you're not playing the same game as everyone else, you can succeed at different goals if your goal isn't necessarily to win, you know?
I could be wrong, but I feel like Kevin criticized people in the game for being like NPCs or like not like proactive players. I feel like for me that's a little bit of a Kevin. Like I don't know what Kevin is contributing to the season because he doesn't have agency, he doesn't have pull. Like I feel like the only person who maybe kind of wants to work with him is Bailey, but other than that, like no one fully trusts him. So I really don't see him as a power player, in the game that he thinks he is.
Hey, he's got some good lines though. You got to give him that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he thinks he's a power player. I think he's just like he's happy he's still waiting. He's like I don't know how I've made a football, but like, he's so like
I think that is more what it is. I think that like he is just kind of like along for the ride. Like he tried to get on Cooper the biggest threat in the game, and now like he like this episode is kind of working with Cooper. I think he's more just bemused by it all. Like yeah, like they're a really funny moment to me is when Megan is like, I think Kevin is flipping on us because why is Kevin okay with the other votes going on him? And to Kevin is just like, whatever. Well, what else? I want to get to this real quick because this has been something that has been interesting for me. Like this season, more than any of the other seasons, I like, in real life, obviously I still live with Cooper and I didn't edit season 1. So like, it wasn't like that. And I've been friends with Leia for years and years. And most of the other people on the cast, I'm very, very tight with in real life. Like I've been friends with them for years. There's only a couple people that I'm like not still really close with. And so like, I just think that like the way going into it was I just tried to separate as much as possible. Like I just couldn't let it be like biased in terms of people that I'm friends with versus, I mean, when you're friends with, the thing is, after you've edited enough, when you're editing a Survivor season, at least to me, Ronan, you can maybe speak to this as well, I guess, like there's a point at which if you watch enough of someone's footage, you really start to see things from their point of view. And like, even though I've never played Survivor, to a degree, I feel like I've played it like 40 or 50 times through all the different, like, I feel like I played this All-Star season through all 21 of the people. And you really, if you watch like hours of them talking about their game, you come to understand that all of them have reasons for why they're doing things. They all see themselves as the hero of their own story. And like, even from like Kevin, or Jackson or some of the more villainous characters' point of view, you completely see where they're coming from and that they have their own like reasons for doing things. And so by this point, I just was in love with like so many of these characters and like people in the game so much that I was just trying to like give each one of them as much like story and like screen time as I possibly could. So as much as I am closer friends with some of them than others, I think that you'd be surprised. Like I think some of the people love the most are people that I like am not as close with in real life. And so I feel like I think I did a good job of like not being biased in that way, honestly, but hard to say for sure.
My question for you is, who is like your favorite person to like edit, like going back through their footage, like who has like, the best content?
Will has been my favorite since season 3. I was devastated when Will got voted off so early in All Stars. I think Will is the perfect. What was that?
Sounded like Johnny.
I don't know what that was, but I think Will's the perfect person for a Survivor, and they should cast him on the real show. They should cast all these people, but especially Will, because Will can do anything you want him to as a character. He's a really good narrator. He's really, really funny. He's emotional. He can, he'll cry on screen. He'll be angry on screen. Every emotion you could possibly want of a Survivor player, Will can give you. He's good at the game. He has complicated relationships with people. There's people that hate him. There's people that love him. On this season, there's people who go into it hating him, and he gets them to love him again. Like he played such a good game in those first couple of weeks, and it was just ripped away from him. So he is by far my favorite. There's a lot of other people though I also really, really like.
I could be wrong, but didn't Will like apply for season 2 and wasn't cast?
That could be true. I don't know.
I think I heard that too.
That might be true.
I know Nick applied for season 1 and he didn't get
cast. A lot of people. I believe that Nick, Sam, and Jack Tiggleman all applied for season 1 and didn't get cast.
Wow.
And
That's
Cooper was
crazy.
an alternate. Cooper was an alternate. So if there's a domino universe where Cooper doesn't get cast, and then I'm never the editor, and like Survivor Michigan is a completely different universe. If Cooper isn't on the show, he's never the host. It's a totally different world.
Jesse's the host.
What do you guys think of Jesse's Revenge? Them coining this alliance after Jesse.
I just wanted to go back 1 second about like the timetable, like not timetable, the timeline. Like, so when Bree was like, all right, if Leia isn't gonna be friends with me after, is this before or after Jesse's Revenge is formed? Like, are they good now?
That was before. That was Bree was talking about that in the context of we gotta get rid of Adam and stuff. Like, and like, because they all thought Adam was gonna get voted out at first. Because that was the first name that was going around. And so once they formed Jesse's Revenge, they know that it's not going to be Adam or like Leia or Bree that week.
Got you.
But yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, Jesse's one of those people that I think now we're already at a point where like, if you go back through a lot of characters on this show, if you go back once it's all said and done, a lot of their scenes will make more sense, or like it'll be clear what they were leading towards. And like Jesse's whole story arc is about her. She's the one who forms this girls' alliance that gets named after her. And so that's kind of like if you go back to like episode 1, Jesse's talking about forming a girls' alliance, and ultimately like the girls' alliance that merge is called Jesse's Revenge. So that's like one little thing, and her theme becomes like the theme of the whole girls' alliance at the music. So that's just one little editing thing. There's other stuff like that, but that's that one I feel like we can divulge at this point because it's kind of out there. Yeah,
I mean, I'm all for it. I'm excited for Jesse's Revenge Alliance. I want to see it. I want to see what Bailey can do with it. I want to see what Bree can get out of this. I want to see if it's Cooper's demise, but also I'm just like, I want to see how Andrew plays a part in this too, because Cooper makes a good point that Andrew has a lot of power. I mean, he could throw Cooper under the bus
at any time.
Andrew
can blow this all up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool that all Andrew has to do is shut up, and he's kind of safe for a few weeks, I guess.
Do you think this majority will stick together, and if so, for how long?
1 vote, maybe 2.
Like, I feel like it could stick together for a few votes, but with how crazy I feel like the merge has been like talked about, I feel like it definitely dissolves like right away. I feel like it's not.
I think it dissolves whenever Crouch wants it to dissolve. Whenever he feels like he's in danger or something, I think that's when it goes away.
I also feel like if Cooper gets paranoid enough that this girls' alliance is a real thing. Like, Cooper has that information now. It's not from the most reliable of sources, maybe, but like he does have the information. So like whether or not he uses that, I'm sure that's festering in his head and will probably come into play as well.
Don't you guys have a like winner picks after this episode? Or who's going home next? Who's going to vote out? Is it going to be Sarah next? That's what they were saying. They were saying, Nick this time, Sarah next time. It's so easy, right? So obvious.
Before this season, I feel like Sarah won. I don't know why. I just have this vibe that she wins. Like, spoiler alert for like Survivor Syracuse. So like you can wait. Okay, their first boot like won their All-Star season. So I feel like there's a chance that also happens this season. And I feel like, no offense to that person, but compared to them, I feel like Sarah is a way better player. And I definitely see that she has a lot of potential that wasn't unearthed in season 1 that she's been showing this entire season.
Michael, you see that happening with our season 1 boot?
Exactly. I feel like that's the case.
I would say I'm just like so into Adam at this point. Like, I really.
Oh yeah, have we not talked about he flips the entire game in this episode?
Yeah, he did. And if we're talking about winners as well, I feel like it's gonna be one of these people that is like putting in a ton of effort. Like, I feel like that's like kind of where these like at least Maryland All-Stars maybe, but like the All-Star college seasons kind of lean. I don't know how Syracuse went. I did not watch that. But like I do know those are like the 3 main college survivors that have All-Star seasons out. And I feel like Adam is like the perfect middle of all of that, like of the big threats and the people who are putting in effort who are not as big of threats. Like I think he's playing really well. I think everything he's doing makes a lot of sense for the position he's in. I do love how adamant he had to be about like why the fuck are you guys not voting for Sam? Like, why am I the target? Like I feel like all of that makes a lot of sense. And if he keeps doing stuff like that, like hopefully Sam, like not hopefully, but like hopefully Sam does go before Adam. So Adam's reason for being voted out is not because he's Sam's piece, because I think he's playing so much more than that. I don't know where it's going to go because I really don't know where his relationships are truly outside of Sam, but I'm so invested in the Adam winning story. I feel like it might happen. I feel like he got so screwed on his first season in such a annoying way that I just like, I hope it pans out for him. That would be my pick.
My winner pick from the beginning, I like to stick with the winner. My winner pick was Megan. So, that's my bold prediction. And then I had like Leia and Adam in there in the final 3 as well. So I guess if I had to change, I'd say I'll go with Adam just on a whim. And then I don't know, maybe Megan 0 votes. And then I don't know what happens with Leia, how many she gets, but that's my prediction.
I don't think Crouch will win. I hope Crouch wins. I don't think the edit is in Crouch's favor to win, but I've always been a Crouch fan. I hope he wins. I hope the only person that doesn't win is Cooper because I'm still sticking to it. I'm better than Cooper at Survivor, so that's the person I'm not rooting for. Hopefully he does not win.
Imagine how big his ego is going to be for the rest of his life if this thing's over and he's the winner.
Terrible.
Jeremy, you enjoy it. Enjoy it, Jeremy.
Is Cooper listening right now?
Probably.
Probably. I'm pretty sure that what they were screaming about was, my guess is that they were trying to guess who I was going to say was my favorite like player to edit, and one of them guessed Will, and that's why they were like, let's go.
I can hear them down the hallway, and I'm pretty sure that's what they were yelling about.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Yeah. Oh, spoilers! Jeremy better than Survivor at Cooper. Yeah.
Get out.
When
Bro, I want to play one of those minis so bad.
When Survivor Big 10 happens, we'll have to get like Cooper and Jeremy as captains.
That'd be epic. Battle of the James.
That'd be great.
Speaking of those, you can go. The last time we mentioned this on here, the trailer was not on YouTube, but the trailer's back on YouTube. Survivor MSU.
Oh yeah, someone was asking.
You can see me on it. You can compare me to Cooper, see if you like me more or less. But comment on it. There's Sarah right there. Sarah from the season. So comment on it. Go watch Survivor MSU on YouTube. The trailer is awesome. Go watch that.
Go give MSU some love.
Yeah, can't concur. I watched the trailer before it was taken down, and I thought it was great.
Please don't watch the trailer.
Oh.
For personal reasons, not video reasons.
Michael Probst made me look stupid.
I watched it before it got dropped down.
I thought it looked great. I
thought it was fantastic. I'm actually really excited for it to come out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Somebody asked if you guys got your footage back. That was in the thread earlier.
We have
threads.
We have everything back.
Work in progress. We're on the right track.
All right.
We're on the right track. We're moving forward.
Good. I need the world to see how much better Jeremy is than Cooper at Survivor. So
is the battle the footage?
I have people from season 1 too.
Yeah.
There needs to be some Cooper remarks in the season.
We need a picture.
Whoa! Is the battle of losing the footage going to be in the episode?
Oh my God. Okay, they're gonna leave.
I feel so out of the loop. This is like all these Michigan people. Just like,
okay,
it's like 1:00 over there.
They also played season 1. I think they're very drunk right now. So,
oh, that's good. We've had drunk people on these after shows before, so that's no surprise there.
To be drunk.
I remember when Kevin came on.
Yeah, drunk Kevin was. I was terrified that he was about to like spoil the entire season. I did not trust him at all. I was like, bro, what are you doing right now? I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you bring him back?
Because he just joined I kicked him out, and then he just joined again and starts texting me. He's like, add me back, bro, add me back. I gotta like talk about like Chris LeCompte. I was like, dude, I don't know what you're saying right now. He's like, dude, I gotta tell them why I'm exactly like Chris LeCompte. I was like, what?
And I'm pretty sure he meant Chris Thomas.
I don't know. I truly don't know what he meant.
Who knows what he means?
I don't know what he means half the time, but never trust a frat oven. I know that much.
You should get Kat to come on the after show. I feel like
that would never Kat would never ever do that.
No, you had to pay Kat. Like obviously Kat would do it on her own.
She would never have watched any of the episodes. Like what would she say about it?
That's the funny thing about it. She'll
just be here.
I got her to.
It'd be just like
the closest I got was I got her to send in a video for the season 4 reunion. It's like I couldn't get her to actually come, but she was like, "Yeah, I'll send in the video." And her whole video was just her talking about like how she couldn't believe it was the thing that was happening, and like that there was anyone who cared about Survivor. Like Kat, I'll say it straight up, I would have loved to have Kat on All Stars.
I was about to ask you that.
I think Kat is so funny. So funny.
No, Kat is the true all-star. Let's be real.
So funny. Just someone who doesn't care. Like Kat would have been voted off though, like so early at All Stars that it would have been worth it really to have her. But I can't imagine she lasts longer than like a vote at max.
I feel like it'd be really funny if Kat came back and she actually like really cared and she like put in a lot of effort.
That's literally not possible, but it would have been. She cared about not caring though. The fact that she submitted the video of a casting video saying "Don't cast me" kills me every time.
The fact that she submitted confessionals, period, was what was surprising.
She had tons of footage, tons.
I know, that's awesome. So like saying that she didn't care while putting a ton out there was like the best oxymoron alive.
Yeah, Kat's great.
Yeah.
Ian, they said they were screaming because the Red Wings won in a shootout. They said.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That was very convenient timing then.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I did hear the live stream playing on the TV.
Yeah, they've been known to watch it while it's happening. I don't know if I fully believe this Red Wings story.
They're watching it. They were just also watching the Red Wings. Interesting.
Well, I guess you guys have any other thoughts? It's been about 90 minutes now. Anything else it's been almost as long as the actual episode, you know? So
I feel like Nick was like the epitome of like a potential like blind side of a resistance happening. I feel like I'm curious. Like, I think it'll be a battle of the big dogs going out, but like I think Nick leaving is like I feel like his story was taking momentum and then it just got cut.
It's so brutal that those are the two ways he lost. Like tied vote at Final Tribal, gets the idol, knows it's him.
Is he still beat up about it?
I mean, you have to ask him. I'm sure he is, but Nick also like I don't know. I'm sure he is. I think he's more beat up about season 2, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know. You'd have to ask him yourself.
I think he is too.
I think All Stars he was upset about it, but I think that it was more like he knows that it's easier to know that you messed up than to like blame other people, you know? I think season 2, it's like he got to the end. It's like it's like there's so many things to question. There's like every choice he ever made, you could question. Should I have gone with different people? Should I have said different things, you know? Versus this, it's like so clear, like I just should have played it. Like it's a very simple choice.
I feel like Nick came in this time. Yeah, I feel like Nick came in this time. I don't remember what his very first confessional of the season was, but it was like he was like, I need to show people that I'm like this great thing. But like I think he's so inherently great. Like the way that he strategizes with people, like you know how his wheels are turning, like you can see how he's strategizing. Like it makes him so much more threatening that he almost came into the game with like a little chip on his shoulder because like he's already so good. Like when we used to play orgs, there were like awards yearly in like our community that we played in, and he won most strategic like 3 years in a row. Like of all the people that like were there, like he was always like the most strategic. Like he just comes off that way. So like I think that he started playing so strategically so fast. Like he was inevitably going to get sniped as like an early merge boot. I feel like people were almost setting, I don't know how much they were setting it up that much in advance, but like him being the merge boot or the second merge boot, like does not surprise me considering he was like the closest on the cast to win that didn't win. But I think he played great. I think this time was so much fun to watch compared to last time. I think this time he had like a lot of agency, which was just a lot of fun to let him use and play with.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best players we've seen on Survivor Michigan. Like, it's crazy how intuitive he is. Like, you can see how, like, he knows stuff that's going on that he shouldn't notice because he's so intuitive. So I think we got to give him credit for that. But
oh yeah,
I think he's one of the best in Michigan to never win. Probably, I think there's an argument there for sure.
He's one of the best in college Survivor to never win. I feel like.
I'll say that I thought it had been confirmed in the show that it was a final 2 or final 3, but people maybe didn't pick up on it, I guess. But personally, I felt this has been revealed at this point somewhere in the show. But I don't know if people didn't pick up on it.
I gotta go back.
Let people read it.
I'm gonna go back and watch the last 10 hours, and I'm gonna find it.
Oh god, we're gonna see it in the
yeah.
thread.
Oh no, Nick is so good. I think Nick in All Stars almost like he was a little I feel like at times he was slightly too timid. Like he was a little worried. He was a little worried about his season 2 perception of like seeming like a snake and that kind of stuff. And I wonder if he had really tried to take control at times a little bit more, if it could have gone differently somehow for him.
I feel like for me, like Adam is a better version of Nick, at least in this context of All Stars. I feel like they're like a similar archetype, and I feel like in some ways these draw on like emotional pleas to get people to work with them. Like that's what makes them really scrappy, players, is that they're able to play from like this bottom position. And I feel like Adam at this merge vote was able to outdo Nick and draw people to work with him. And same with Sam. I feel like they have this this thing about them that draws people to work with them. And I feel like it's because they really want to play this game so badly. And I feel like people want to like reward that in some capacity, and let them get a little bit further in the game, possibly compared to some other people who maybe, don't want this as, strongly as them.
Adam, real quick, Adam would definitely not have played it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was mad. He was mad just because he wanted it.
He just wanted to have it for himself.
I think especially he knew Nick was leaving too. It's like almost perfect that Nick would.
That's what he wanted. That's the scenario he wanted.
I think he had a confessional saying that would have been his best case scenario.
Yeah.
If Nick,
I love Adam. I'm going to say it one more time before we're done.
If Adam would have asked Nick to give it to him, would you guys have allowed that?
No. Why would that be allowed? Or like if he would have to hand it to him before the votes
started getting read.
Once the votes started being read, I don't think you can pass it.
If Matthew Israel is there, he's not letting the idol get passed once the votes start getting read.
Well, I don't know. Survivor Michigan does, things with like the revotes, so I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
We believe in the rule of good TV at Survivor Michigan, okay? Let me tell you.
You guys needed to have like a Survivor historian there, like keeping you guys in check.
That is meant to be Matthew Israel.
That's
in general.
I heard he wasn't there for the one tribal that they were allowed to talk to.
He wasn't. So if Matthew Israel had his way, then Megan and Adam wouldn't have cried. There wouldn't have been a whole crying scene of them. Like that would have been way worse than Megan. They just go vote and Megan just flips immediately because I think that's what have happened personally. I don't think Megan's ever going to Rocks there. So
are you saying that less Matthew Israel leads to better ratings?
I'm not saying that, but actually in general, Matthew Israel is kind of the central figure of the whole production enterprise, and I do think without him the entire thing would fall apart almost immediately. So I really will not say anything too negative about the guy he's really quite the king overall.
I do think Survivor Michigan State, I'm pretty sure idol passing was allowed after the votes were read, just what I've been hearing.
What? That seems like complete bogus.
We'll rephrase it. It was
Okay. So CBS had not clarified the rules on whether you could pass an idol while the votes were being read. Okay.
Why would you be allowed to do that?
Because if you look at Co-Wrong, I feel like it established a precedent. After the votes have been read, Scott turned a tie and he's like, "Are you gonna give me the idol?" Right? Because the two idols made a super idol. And I feel like since that point in time, it had never been clarified by CBS whether idols could be transferred, right? And it was only until season 43, the merge episode, when people were questioning whether Dwight could hand the idol to Janine, but in actuality, Dwight never had the idol because Jesse had the idol, right? And so Jeff Probst did an interview where he clarified it. He said, idols or any advantages, nothing can be passed once the votes start to be read.
That was after our season, though. That was after our season.
And
what I'm hearing is that Jeremy gets screwed over by somebody's idol getting passed around.
No, I mean there's a season of Australian Survivor and then another circumstance in South African Survivor, I think, where advantages and idols get passed. Literally, the vote is concluded, people are hugging, saying goodbye, and then slides an idol into someone else's pocket.
Yes.
That kind of stuff is a little wild, but I get where you would get it from.
And that also influenced my opinion. When the idol was given to Flick, right? That also influenced.
I have to imagine it was better TV for whatever the heck you wanted to have happen. If you're
Plus, if this did hypothetically happen, it was before the votes had all been read. So it wasn't like people were it was hypothetically before that.
In a hypothetical world where this hypothetically happens,
And like immediately after it happened, I regretted it, and it's never gonna happen again. Like,
all right, well, I already know that. Okay, so Survivor MSU season 1, Jeremy gets screwed, completely invalid. Would have won the game for sure, is what it sounds like to me.
I'm waiting for crew to just come and put sacks on their head and just take them off the screen.
Yeah.
I feel like most of them are
These guys I will say that if I was like, if the Ian of whoever your Ian is, if this was happening for Michigan, I would be like legit texting you guys right now, being like, literally stop speaking. Like, all of my buddies, everybody in Survivor Michigan did such a good job of keeping this season like a secret all these years, and I'm very, very happy with how little leaked out. Like, people were so good about that.
We just gotta get people.
Drunk Kevin almost ruined it.
We gotta get people intrigued in our season.
yeah,
Get people intrigued.
like
They're gonna watch. They're gonna watch.
Me and Jeremy came into this with a plan. We're just gonna lie and say things happened when they actually didn't.
If you guys revealed that all of the drama in the Discord about Survivor
Was
MSU
staged.
was all staged, that would be the
It was
best.
all just
It was all staged.
That'd be incredible.
The guy who was the editor that stole all the footage is actually the winner of your first season.
That'd be so funny.
Exactly.
Yo, so
Y'all have to
Ronan,
watch. Y'all
when
have
is
to
the
watch.
next season of Survivor San Diego coming out? Because if you guys are not familiar with Survivor San Diego, it was a season that came out last year, right?
Yeah, and last June or last April. Damn. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really interesting twist on College Survivor because it's like basically like the college age of people, but it's like during a summer break, at least the first season is. So they're all from different schools. They just live kind of in the same area. And it's kind of like if the tailgate from this episode in this season was the whole season. Like, to me, that's what the season felt like. It was just like drunk people playing Survivor all season. I loved it. It was amazing.
That's kind of why, like, when people were talking about like the Kid Next Door bit and stuff like that and the Halloween bit, I was like standing for that hella because I was like, this is kind of our all season.
Dude,
like,
it's if you are into that kind of like messy, like college kids being drunk and like having to vote each other out, 100%. It was one of my favorite College Survivor seasons.
and with that being said, Survivor Michigan season 4 is my favorite season. So that is my
your favorite.
I also like season 4. I think season 4 might be my favorite of the first 4 as well.
I mean,
No
Gabone's
way.
my favorite actual season. So I
If
just
I-
love the drama and the drunk and the stupidity.
I
That's
find
what I
myself
love.
rewatching scenes from season 4 more often than than seasons 1 through 3. That's just me. I just think the people are so funny. I could watch like an hour of Kat or Ivy or Jackson, Megan, Shannon, Dale, Nate, Camila. It just goes on and on. Ben, like Eliza. That cast didn't miss. That cast was fucking flames. Matthew, don't care. Dale.
Drunk Dale. Yeah.
I can watch that. Those people, I could watch hours and hours of them. I love those guys.
Ronan,
I always tell people. Oh, sorry. I always tell people like who are coming on to our new seasons, like season 2 and 3. I always tell them to watch season 4 of Survivor Michigan. So, all right, what's up? Sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna say I also watched Survivor San Diego, and I thought it was really fun.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm
shit.
from California, so like I liked it when I was watching it. So
Dude, hell
The
yeah.
final immunity challenge in that season was one of the sickest things I've ever seen. And it's worth watching Survivor San Diego just for that. It was like an episode of Lost. It was insane. It was so cool.
We almost killed
dope.
someone. Like I actually needed to like reconsider challenges in the future because like I didn't want anyone to like actually like die. And
I've had that issue before.
was
Yeah.
that inspired by Australian Survivor? Like this?
So I've never seen Australian Survivor, but I've heard about it. So
Yeah, so that reminded me of like the final immunity from that season.
oh damn. I'm happy with season 1 and season 2 and 3 coming out sometime the next year. If you're a fan of Survivor Michigan, definitely check out season 3. That's the only thing I'll put out there.
Okay. Yeah, definitely check out Survivor San Diego. I think it was awesome. And check out Survivor Michigan State whenever that comes out. And check out Johnny. You got any Survivor to plug? You got anything to plug?
Yeah, I run a 1-day Survivor live game right outside of Manhattan. So if you're anywhere near the New York metro area and you are interested in playing a live game, the name of the company is called Competitive Events. Aaron mentioned it on a podcast of some kind recently. Ian played, Cooper played, Emily P played. I believe some more Michigan people will be playing sometime soon. So definitely, if you want to play in one of my games, please feel free to reach out. Competitive Events is the Instagram, and I will gladly talk to you.
Sending love to MSU for real.
Mm.
Yeah.
A lot of love to MSU.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
You can find our YouTube channel by looking up like Survivor Michigan State on YouTube. I think our Instagram handle is Survivor MSU. We don't really post on Instagram, but definitely stay up to date on like the YouTube channel. And hopefully within the next few months, we'll be releasing episodes or giving people a better sense of when the episodes will be released.
Yeah. And if you are a part of a college survivor that has not been represented on one of these after shows yet, please hit me up. Hit up Survivor Michigan. Hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter is Ian D Harris 2016, or Survivor Michigan Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Try and get on anybody from College Survivor who wants to be on one of these and just spread the College Survivor love as far as possible. So I hope everyone's enjoying the season. The next episode, significantly shorter. But yeah. So yeah, good to see you guys.
Wrap.
Good work, Ian.
Kill it.